What is up, everybody? Tonight, a big matchup happened in Arlington, Texas. It was the 6-5 Dallas Cowboys hosting the 11-1 New Orleans Saints, the #1 seed in the NFC, and they were looking to solidify that home field advantage for the playoffs. The Cowboys are just looking to make the playoffs, and they are on a hot streak, and every win they pile up gets more and more impressive. So they beat the Atlanta Falcons in a last-minute thrower. That's cool, but it's the Atlanta Falcons. They're not doing that good. You move on to Thanksgiving. They play the Redskins, the leaders of the NFC East at the time. They dropped the Redskins pretty handedly with the backup quarterback Colt McCoy, but nonetheless dropped the Redskins. And you're thinking, okay, so this Cowboys team maybe might win the NFC East, but the NFC East isn't really looking that good this year because the Eagles are a little bit inconsistent. The Redskins are without Alex Smith for the rest of the year, so it's just the Cowboys up for grabs to finish 9-7. Then they match up with the New Orleans Saints, 11-1. Their only loss came in the first game of the season. They lost 40-48 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and since then, this offense has been almost lights out. Well, they almost lost the next game to the Browns in week 2. But since then, this offense has been pretty much lights out. But when they came into Arlington, the Dallas Cowboys showed them what defense is all about. They absolutely dominated time of possession, which felt like the #1 thing to do against this Saints team. Control time of possession, get the ball rolling with Zeke. Dak Prescott was getting a lot of completions. I think he had 17 straight completions at one point, and let's not sugarcoat anything. The Dallas Cowboys are good, okay? You might think it's a fluky run, but, I mean, when you beat the Saints like this, the way they did, demonstratively, and this game was not as close as the score indicated, the Dallas Cowboys are not just the team that are the favorites to win the NFC East. They're a team that can make noise in the playoffs. They have the perfect team structure to mess up pretty much anybody in the playoffs. Even you think about the Los Angeles Rams. The Cowboys can go into LA, go into the Coliseum, and ruin the Rams' Super Bowl hopes. Because, for one, they have the running game. They have Ezekiel Elliott. They didn't even play with Tyron Smith today. They had Fleming at left tackle, and he didn't do too great. But nonetheless, Ezekiel Elliott still did his thing. He got a majority of the carries for the night, and he is definitely a difference maker. You guys may think that Zeke might be a product of the offensive line. Zeke is one of the best running backs in the NFL, so getting him involved, that's #1. And #2, like I mentioned before, the defense. The defense was the main story of the night. We all knew the Cowboys could control the clock with Ezekiel Elliott, but if their defense was getting shredded, it didn't really matter. You can't really control clock when you're down 14 points because your defense is giving up touchdowns. And that's the way it used to be for the Cowboys. But through the draft, they have picked up some pretty key pieces the last couple of years. They had DeMarcus Lawrence, they have Leighton Van Der Esch, the rookie linebacker, Jalen Smith, who I believe is in his 3rd year, Tyrone Crawford, a lot of homemade products. They didn't go into free agency and buy their players. In fact, the people that they would get in free agency, like Brandon Carr, would underperform. The Cowboys have done a great job in the draft, building this defense, and here it is in fruition now. Jeff Heath is on this team. There's a lot of stars and a lot of non-stars, but great rotational pieces on the team that are good enough to, I don't want to say win a Super Bowl. I don't want to say win a Super Bowl, but this Cowboys team can beat anybody on any given day. They have the pieces to do it. The New Orleans Saints, meanwhile, they showed, despite their now 11-2 record, which is still really good, they showed what I think is their 2 biggest flaws. And that is #1, the fact that if you go against an athletic front 7 like the Cowboys, a sure tackling front 7, and even decent secondary pieces, the Saints really want to dominate the short passing game. Drew Brees at this point of his career, he doesn't exactly have the arm strength to just boom it downfield every single play. He obviously can. He is Drew Brees, but they prefer to, get the dump downs to Kamara and then work on some middle of the field stuff, some medium routes to Michael Thomas. Not really too many deep shots. And the Cowboys, they have that all covered. Alvin Kamara was pretty much a non-factor tonight. And this was the first time, one of the few times in Alvin Kamara's career, we can say that he did not have a major impact in the game. Running the ball, absolutely nothing. The Saints could not run the ball. The Cowboys stuffed the run throughout the night, especially when Kamara was trying to run it. Ingram had 1 or 2 good runs. And then, you would see Kamara a couple of times covered very well on the receiving end, and that's how they got the game-winning interception. The Dallas Cowboys did with Jordan Lewis. It was on a route to Alvin Kamara. Brees was under pressure, so it's not like Kamara really did anything wrong, but they had it covered well enough. They had tight enough coverage to where Brees tried to get it to Kamara, and it got intercepted. So that is the first thing about the New Orleans Saints that is potentially troubling with their team and could be a fatal flaw. The second part is the secondary. This is something we've known since that Week 1 loss to the Buccaneers, that the New Orleans Saints secondary, besides Marshawn Lattimore and Marcus Williams, who's pretty good, the rest of the cornerbacks are like some of the low-end cornerbacks in the league. And adding Eli Apple might have actually hurt them somehow. I mean, it could be worse. PJ Williams could be outside instead of Eli Apple, but these guys are getting burned consistently. Even against the Cowboys, even against Michael Gallup, who isn't really too big of a name, isn't really the kind of guy we should be getting torched by. Gallup was getting his way. Amari Cooper had a couple of good routes against Marshawn Lattimore, but that's just going to happen. Cooper's a pretty decent receiver, and Lattimore, he has his on and off moments, but overall, Cooper didn't exactly wreck the game. He had a fumble that almost wrecked the Cowboys game. And despite the fact that it felt like the Cowboys dominated the game, we go to the Cowboys' fatal flaw, and a potential fatal flaw, and it showed up in a what felt like dominant win, and it's the fact that this team always seems to shoot themselves in the foot, and they really try to lose a football game against a really good team that they should have won handedly. They had penalties. Randy Gregory comes to mind. He had the roughing the kicker on the punter that ended up giving them a free first down. He had the questionable offsides penalty, but still, the offsides penalty, and you know, they had the fumbles. Dak Prescott fumbles up by 3 in the red zone. You have a chance to get an easy 3 points on a field goal, and you fumbled the ball. His second lost fumble of the game. You know, Dak has to work on that. Dak had a pretty sharp game passing the ball. It was, besides the one missed the Gallup downfield, that was ugly. And that's another thing. The Cowboys missed that wide open pass to Gallup. That would have daggered the game. Instead, it stayed alive long enough. They were just begging the defense, hey, one more stop. And, you know, usually against a Drew Brees-led offense, you're not going to get that one more stop every single time. And the Cowboys defense really stood tall in that fourth quarter because offense was trying to give the game away. They were not exactly feeding Zeke the way they should have been. They're trying to get wide receiver screens and stuff like that involved. Dak was kind of getting messy. Even the run that he got for the first down in the fourth quarter when he like broke 2 tackles, that was a little bit of a questionable run in itself, a questionable decision. He just happened to just protect the football, and there was some bad tackling. I believe Klein and Lattimore missed tackles. But even then, like, you can see Dak's decision-making is not the best at the end of the games. His accuracy downfield is still a bit of a problem. Most of his passes were medium completions or just short passes, even though it was 17 in a row. Impressive, like I said, but those are the flaws of the Cowboys. But I don't want to harp too much on what the Cowboys did wrong because there was a lot that they did well today, and I think it needs to be said that the Cowboys are the favorites not just to win the NFC East, but they have to be in the conversation amongst dangerous playoff teams because it's not just a 3-game winning streak. The higher this winning streak goes, the more impressive the opponents. They're going to have a big showdown with the Eagles later on this season. That's probably going to decide the NFC East if they drop another game or two. But then again, I don't even know the Eagles can keep up with these guys. The Cowboys might end up, you know, maybe losing one more game for the rest of the season, finishing 10-6, and that should be good enough to win the division. Because like I said, the Eagles look sloppy. I'm not considering the Redskins right now. They were a questionable bet to win the division before the Alex Smith injury, the gruesome injury. I don't think Colt McCoy is really leading this team. Good defense, but not good enough. Their offense is way too check down based with or without Alex Smith. So, you know, the Cowboys, they have the formula that teams usually use to make playoff pushes, like the Eagles last year. They had a good front seven. You guys remember the amount of pressure they would get? You got Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham, those guys in there. And the Cowboys, they have their own, you know, Tyron Crawford and DeMarcus and Lawrence and all those guys inside. And then the athletic linebackers, Jalen Smith and Van Der Esch. You think of guys like Bradham on the Eagles. And, you know, even though the Cowboys secondary is not the best, the Eagles secondary wasn't the best last year either. They were rolling out like Jalen Mills last year, who's not really a top cornerback, but he was like their shutdown corner last year. So, you know, the Cowboys, the Saints also are, you know, I would still say probably the second best team in the NFC. I think the way they lost tonight, I feel like that asserts the Rams as the favorites. Even though the Saints beat the Rams heads up, I would still consider the Los Angeles Rams the favorites to win the conference, mainly because once they get Aqib Talib back, their defense should be a little bit better. The New Orleans Saints, they don't have an Aqib Talib coming back. That secondary is going to be a problem for the rest of the year, and if Drew Brees and the offense get out to a little bit of a slow start, you know, that's their season. You get out to a slow start in the playoffs, that's your season, just like that. If your defense is getting torched really quickly. The Rams, they can, you know, obviously they have Aaron Donald, who's an absolute game wrecker. Their defense has been suspect this year, but they have the opportunity to turn it up in the playoffs. The Cowboys obviously have the defense to turn it up in the playoffs. When I look into the playoffs, I'm trying to see who has the defense. You can score all the points you want, but once it comes to specific game planning in the playoffs, you know, the Cowboys have it. We have to see if the New Orleans Saints have it, because even against the Los Angeles Rams, they blew, what, a 17-point lead. The game was tied 31-31, and they were on the verge of choking that game. Credit to them. They pulled it out. They got the victory. But even in that win, and their biggest win of the season, it still showed why the Saints could fall apart in the playoffs, why this team, as great as it is, should be considered the favorites to win the NFC. They just do not have the complete package. Drew Brees and Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas, they might be able to mask those weaknesses, but they can't do it forever. Meanwhile, the Dallas Cowboys, their problems are, they're not gone by any means. Even though they won against the Saints, you know, the game pretty much, like in the first half, the game went as well as it possibly could for Dallas. In the second half, it almost went as bad as it possibly could, besides the fact that the defense were getting stops. And at the end of the game, you know, Dak fumbles the ball. They throw that pass on second down right before the 2-minute warning that draws the pass interference, which was the right call, by the way. But even then, they get that pass incomplete. You go into the 2-minute warning, it's third down. You don't get it. Brees has the ball like a minute 10 left, and he can easily go downfield for a touchdown. The game was not managed the best by the Cowboys, so, you know, all in all, at the end of the day, you know, it was a good football game. It was definitely a good football. It wasn't Chiefs and Rams. It was more of a little throwback. Let's play some defense. The only problem I had with the game personally was the fact that the flags kept on deciding the game. It felt like there was just huge game-changing penalties. There weren't many game-changing plays. Like, players weren't getting big-time sacks or big-time catches or big-time interceptions. It seemed to be a game that was not decided by the referees, but flags really, you know, helped both teams just maintain drives, it felt like. Whether it was Randy Gregory penalties or it was the penalty on third down on Dak when they forced the incompletion, which was before the fumble anyway, so the Saints were getting the ball. But still, those flags just really were huge penalties in the game. The Cowboys had that one drive where they had like 4 flags called on them, and then at the end, the Saints get a touchdown, what looked like offensive pass interference. It was a questionably referee game. They said that was the most like experienced referee crew that they have. And I saw Texas boy, shout out to Texas boy, I saw him tweet that just means those dudes are old and they can't see too well. That might be true. But like I said, at the end of the day, it's a good football game. So I want to do these videos more often. This is pretty much the end. If you guys are you know, you guys are looking for analysis, I'm pretty much done with that. But I want to talk to you guys for the last minute or two of this video. I want to do some more of these videos for the rest of the football season. Get some, you know, end-of-game analysis, end-of-game recaps on big games. Do it on Thursday nights, especially when there's big Thursday night games. Do it on Monday nights, especially on Sunday. Maybe even pre-games like this, like, you know, maybe some pre-game predictions, just going over like a big game of the week. We can do that on Saturday. If you guys want to see any of that, let me know in the comment section, because this is definitely something I'd like to do for the rest of the season, because this is fun for me. I like doing this kind of stuff. And you guys can see the game in the background. I'll just, you know, I'm not playing with either of these teams. I just simulated the game. I literally simulated this game while the actual game was going on. I just left my PS4 on. I let the Cowboys and Saints do their thing. And, oh man, Dak Prescott not doing his thing right there. Down by 4, throws the interception. And that is not going to end the game since the Cowboys have all 3 of their timeouts. But that return does put the Saints into field goal range. So, I mean, I guess I'll talk about this game for the last minute or two, or however many long we have left for this video, because it's a little bit interesting. It's been a little bit of a mucky game, and at one point, I actually changed the speed of the game from normal to fast, because the game was taking forever. I remember I switched my input from my TV. I was like, how is this game still in the second quarter? Like, I switched it to fast. I might maybe do like 8-minute quarters, simulation, put the speed on fast, something to try to get the scoring up potentially, because, like, at this point, it's 7-3. Will Lutz did miss 2 field goals, including one from, I believe 58 yards out. It was a bit of a questionable decision by the Saints, these Saints in game, but here they are trying to chew up some clock. The Cowboys obviously got to use their timeouts, so this third down will decide the game potentially. Mark Ingram up the middle, absolutely stuffed, and this brings Will Lutz onto the field, which is interesting because he is 0 for 2 in this game. Jason Garrett is hyped because he knows Will Lutz might just miss this field goal and give them good field position, and Will Lutz, the kick is up, and that is good. So the Cowboys, no timeouts, 30 seconds left. They pretty much need some sort of Hail Mary here. And Dak Prescott has been absolutely struggling throughout the game. Brees was pretty sharp, 18 for 22 passing. Dak, on the other hand, 2 interceptions, I believe. So, you know, he needs to snap out of it. He's definitely not playing like Dak did in real life. Because Dak in real life, he was fumbling the ball up, but he was getting his completions off. That's a nice little juke move by Hearns, but that's a catch in the middle of the field with no timeout, so they got to spike the ball. The clock is running. Definitely not something you actually want to do in a situation like this. Get a gain at 8 and let the clock run. So there's 11 seconds left, no timeouts. Any catch in bounds, and the game will be over. So the Cowboys call 4 verticals. Dak stepping up in the pocket, taking his shot, and Cooper looked like he had a step, but just like Dak did to Mike Gallup in the fourth quarter in the real-life game, overthrows what might have been a touchdown. Here we go. Hail Mary, intercept, and that'll do it for the ball game. So leave a like on this video if you guys enjoyed this video concept, if you guys enjoyed the analysis. Let me know what you guys think about the game in the comment section, man. Let me know what you guys are thinking about the Cowboys, about the Saints, about the NFC playoff picture, because we're getting a lot closer to the playoffs than you may think. It's not too early to be talking about playoffs right now, so let me know what you guys think. I'm gonna try to respond to as many of you guys as we can, and I can. I like saying we, because it's like, it's we, but I'm the one that's responding in this particular scenario. So leave a like on the video if you guys enjoyed it. Subscribe for more, and I'll catch you guys next time. I hope you guys enjoyed this concept.